The boss lady in the building.
She is in the
I'm
building.
feeling confident as a father right
Serious?
now. Yeah. Feeling the vibes now, boy. I'm ready for them. I'm telling you.
Wow. But we want to welcome Ms. Dawn Gillian Seecharan with us this morning, attorney for over 20 years in the business. And I'm sure you've heard it all. Or most of the stories. A lot. Tell us, in your experience over the length of years, what are some of the most prevalent, consistent issues coming up in baby daddy, child mother situations?
Well, it's interesting. Its situation seems to have evolved. Mm-hmm. In the early years, you would find women complaining that fathers didn't want to be a part of their children's lives and weren't paying child support, maintenance, whatever version you call it.
Right.
Minding the child.
Right.
But as time passed, I found, fathers coming to me and complaining that they were not getting to see their children.
The mothers holding them back.
Correct. And that they were insisting on their rights. And so we had a sort of shift in the paradigm. And so it's become... I love it to see fathers being interested
and wanting.
And I say to people all the time, the right to access to a parent is not the parent's right, it is the child's right.
People tend to forget
that right is protected not just by our body of legislation in Trinidad, but it's protected by international conventions issued by the United Nations, and there's an entire global package of legislation that protects the child. And so sometimes parents need to understand that it's not my child, or it's not my right, and it's not my right to deprive the child of seeing either. So I don't want to appear biased at all.
Yes.
But it is the child's right. As much as there is a willing father and a willing mother to participate in the child's growth and development, it's the child's right to that.
Now, in a situation where, all right, you and your significant other all together, all going down, and like the child is 5 years, and for the 5 years, you minding this child, the child living with you, you and a significant other come and they break up. Right, and she want to bring you up because the relationship,
spite.
You don't want to do it. You ain't doing nothing for the child, and you're doing all the way you have to do all the time. But because you come and you break up, and things ain't going too good, you bring up the young man to court and whatnot. What in like an instance like that, what is our father to do, or
Well, the first thing the father has to do is go to court.
Yeah, for sure.
He cannot ignore the summons because either the magistrate will make an order in his absence, or a warrant will be issued once there's proof of service to compel him to come before the court. So that it is the father's responsibility to go there and to explain his position to the court. Now, if it's the magistrate's court level, which is usually where this happens, you can represent yourself. However, if you find yourself in difficulty and you don't feel that what you're trying to put across to the court is being heard, then you ought to get an attorney. Yeah. Now, I just want to say that there are mediation services available as well for these sort of issues, and the community
legal aid and whatnot.
Has centers all over the country where if the parties are willing to at least have a conversation
before it reaches that level,
before it gets to that level, you can work it through. But once you get to court, sometimes even in that scenario, the parties are referred to mediation to work it through. But if none of that is happening and you're going into a trial, then you're going to be examined as to your means and what you can afford to pay.
Right.
And then you have to pay it into court, and if 5 weeks pass and you haven't paid,
well, I know that as good. I used to watch Alexander.
Yeah, boy.
Are there any penalties in terms of, let's say, if the mother in question, just in this, I'm not being biased, but let's say if it's the mother is just bringing up issues and bringing him up in court just to be spiteful, and he is maintaining, and he's, after everything has been everything went through, and you realize, all right, he has all his bills, he has his receipts, he's showed proof that yes, he has been maintaining the child financially, that she would be, reprimanded for wasting the court's time, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, that position varies from magistrate to magistrate. Because at the end of the day, you have human beings presiding over these matters, right? And perspective, background comes into play when they are making a determination about these issues. But one or two things can happen. The case can be dismissed, or the magistrate can say, well, since you're making these payments, pay them into court. Right. So that there will be no contention as to whether you really are maintaining your child.
In black and white.
Or not correct.
All right, there's been a question that has been coming up very, very often for the guys, the fathers. Want to know, is it possible that a woman could be taken to court for not maintaining her child if the child lives with the father and he's the enabler, he's financially taking care of the child or children? Can he bring her up in court?
Yes, there's no gender issue.
Because a lot of people have an issue thinking that it's not possible.
Yeah, there's no gender issue on the books, but of course, culturally, you will be faced with the stereotype that, well, is your child, mind your child, that sort of thing. But there's nothing to prevent the father from saying to the mother, I need help. And if you're not going to voluntarily help, then I'm going to make an application to court.
So a lot of people have this thing in mind where they're going to have a favoritism towards the woman and saying that, a man should not be asking a woman for help. She already brought the child into the world, and if you're taking care of the child, as you said, let you do your part. And it shouldn't be like that. I think it should be equal opportunity.
Well, yes, and we go back to culture again. I mean, we could talk about this, and I'm sure if you had callers calling now, you would get a debate as to whether that's required or not.
If it's okay or not.
But at the end of the day, the bottom line is there is no gender discrimination.
Right.
And that each party, and the law is that each party has an equal position with respect to a child. So they're in the law. The mother doesn't have a stronger position than the father, and the father doesn't have a stronger position.
You want to buy bundles and take on, but you want to bring me up, right?
I ain't going there.
All right, so we have a question here. Somebody asks, well, since my breakup, 1 year now, my daughter's father and I don't get along, meaning conversations, etc. I chose not to speak to him because he has no respect for me, but I don't ever keep his daughter away. He sees her at his will, but he doesn't always assist with her financially. Recently, we both applied for custody and the matter is before the court. He claims I don't take care of her due to cuts on her skin. She's 2, and he refuses to come to my house to see her. So I have to drop her by his mother, which I find is unfair, and wants to meet me at Trin City Mall, etc. So I decided the station is the best place to meet. Can you please advise me where I'm wrong in all of this?
Wow. Well, first of all, if there are court orders in place that mandate the sort of access he's to have, then she has to comply with that. I have a preference. I do not like police stations for access venues. I think a child's introduction or handing over to a father should not be at a police station. In our culture, the police station represents a place where you go if you've done something wrong. And you don't want the child to have that psychology and that sort of tension. Because people say, I'll take it to the police if you can't be here.
To straighten you out. Yeah.
So try to find another. I don't mind
an environment
a mall.
that's easier.
I find a mall is okay because they have child-friendly, places,
a park
ice
or something,
cream, those kinds of things. But not the
police station.
I don't agree with our police station thing at all.
All right. Also, I'm going to open up the phone lines for a short bit. So for those of you who are interested in calling and getting your questions out there, short and sweet to the point, because we would like everybody to get an opportunity. You can feel free to do so. 628-9336-900-9696. In the meanwhile, I'm going to try and squeeze in a lot of the questions that are coming in.
Nobody concerning me, eh?
And I just want to correct something. You introduced me as Miss Dawn Seecharan, but I got married in December 2015. I need to big up my husband and say my surname is Nancoo.
Mrs. Nancoo.
Kim.
Oh gosh, let me get punked for that. I still get called Miss Mitchell too.
It's Nancoo.
Good morning, you're live.
Pleasantly, Kim and Spoda.
How you doing? And of course, Mrs. Nancoo is with us.
I have one for the lady there.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Mrs. Nancoo.
My apologies.
That's all right. You can call me anything that's respectful.
I have a court order, right?
Yes.
Right. So I have it is joint custody, but I have care and control. She have liberal access. Right, so she's supposed to pay the maintenance. Since last year, April, there's no communication whatsoever where the kids is concerned. No payments since last year, April whatsoever. Guide me accordingly.
Sheena is.
Well, is it a magistrate's order or is it a high court order?
If I'm correct, I think it's a high court order.
Well, if it's a high court order, you're going to have to go to a lawyer because an application is going to have to be made to enforce the arrears of the maintenance order. And that is done by way of a judgment summons. She has to be brought before the court to be examined as to what means she has to satisfy the debt. And then the court will make an order. If she has a job where she gets a salary, then an application can be made for an attachment of earnings order, where the maintenance that's in arrears and current maintenance can be deducted from her salary and put directly into an account stipulated by your application. So that's your option. If it is a magistrate's court order, then you need to go and take out a warrant. And
now, the last time I went into the court, they told that they directed me to somebody, so I'm sure it's a high court order.
Right. Well, then you have to get yourself an attorney because those papers have to be prepared by an attorney.
All right.
All right then.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
a lot.
Respect, my brother.
All right.
Respect, man.
Good luck.
We got another message here. Question. Can I take my son's father to court in order for him to be a part of his life? Every weekend he says he'll come for him, but he never shows up.
But
Well, you know, they say you could take a horse to water, but you can't
let
make
him
it
drink,
drink. So you could go to court, you can get an order for him to be granted access, but usually the application is made by the person who wants the access. So that's the difficulty there.
Can't force him. Wow.
Yeah, that's the difficulty there.
Wow.
It's his
hard.
loss. It's his loss.
That's how she has to look at it.
Yeah.
Good morning, you're live.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
The situation that I'm in is that I'm not a father for a boy, and the father have not dealt with the boy since the boy have been born, as it were.
wow.
How old is the boy now?
The boy is 10 years now,
Right.
Wow.
you know, and I recently married the lady, as you could say, we married about 1 year now, you know, and he's nowhere around to support the boy or whatever the case may be. Of course, he's enjoying himself on Facebook and everything like that, but not being part of the boy's life.
So your question is what exactly?
Well, we want to take it to another level where
You
not
adopt the
only that he
child?
could,
Or?
not only that he's supposed to be part of the boy's life, but also support the boy financially. Even though I am doing my part and waiting for him to do his part. But as a responsible father, I stand to be speed, as it were. You know, I should say not father, but a responsible donor.
All right.
Yeah.
You want to address that? Thanks a lot, caller.
The answer is the same really. A formal application will have to be made either at the magistrate's court level or the high court level. Magistrate's court is simpler because you can make the application and you can appear before the magistrate, and the magistrate can determine the matter by listening to the parties. If you're going to the high court, then you must retain legal representation.
Right.
But it can be done. 10 years is a long time
long
to sleep on
Yeah, boy,
rights.
yeah,
though.
time.
Yeah, I think
That's-
that should have been done earlier.
You feel that would be an issue? Like the magistrate will
In
say,
time,
like,
why now?
So
Well,
why
no,
now?
it's until the child completes school.
Yeah.
18.
It's not an issue.
Oh, so you could get shaft still.
Yeah, but
Wow.
I don't know about the shaft. I don't know if I like that word.
All right, somebody here says, good morning. If a 13-year-old living with her mother tells the court that she doesn't want to be around her father and wishes to stay living with her mother, can the court rule differently, seeing that the child is not an adult?
Well, the overriding principle that guides the court is what is the best interest of the child. It's called the welfare principle. So that usually what the court does is makes a complete inquiry into all of the circumstances if there's a formal application before the court.
Right.
Most times where there's an issue as to where the child should live, the court refers the matter to social services. And an independent investigation is conducted, a report is prepared, and then the judge considers that report as well as evidence. If it goes all the way to trial and the parties are cross-examined and the court assesses the demeanor of each of the parties before it, and then it makes a determination as to which parent it finds to be more straightforward, a better witness, and
or
then
different components.
yeah,
right.
and then makes an order that's in the best interest of the child. So even though at 13 the child's wishes are important, it is not
Everything
the
has to be
only
considered,
thing
yes.
that guides the court.
Is there normally a timeline in a situation like this, or this depends on every situation is different?
Every situation is different. I mean, you're bound by due process, you're bound by the court timetables, you're bound by how much work the judge has, how many trials are going on. It's all kinds of things. Yeah.
Can be coming up. All right. Okay. Somebody said I need some information. My child's mother and I relationship deteriorated to the point where she wants to take away my frequent contact with my son. I had him on weekends from Friday evening until Monday morning. Now she wants to limit my physical contact to every other weekend from Saturday morning until Sunday evening. Wanting to play a vital part of my son's life and do not want to go through the court system. It seems like the system is biased with mothers. What advice can you give?
Well, unfortunately, you have to go through the court system unless there is someone who is respected by both parties, who you can go to and ask to do a sort of quasi-mediation, or you could visit the community mediation centers, but that requires both parties to voluntarily take part in the process.
Right.
If you can't get a voluntary giving up, allowing of access, then you have no choice. You have to go
face
to
the court.
court.
Have to face the court.
Yeah. I want to commend the fathers who are.
Good.
Yeah.
Sorry, caller. Could you lower your
Volume.
Wow.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes. Hi. How are you?
Yeah, man.
Alright, so the situation is a young lady and a gentleman has a child together. Right? He is in one of the uniformed forces. Right? She doesn't want to go to court, but she wants the father to assist in, let's just say, books, right? School supplies. Nothing else, just school supplies. But she really and truly don't want a court scene rap, right? What advice would you give to her as a young lady that does not want to go to the court, but wants to get the point across to the father that I just need your assistance? Is there something legal? Is there a protocol letter that you can write to the father or anything like that?
Well, first of all, does she talk to him?
Yeah. Well, what is the issue that he doesn't want to just give money for books?
The issue is she doesn't want anything to have to do with him because she realized that he's a scum and no, real, right? And she just needs the assistance as the father, in the sense that a working mother, I do everything else. It's just that when I need to pay for school fees and school books and stuff like that for the child, that she just needs assistance.
Well, is the dad getting to see his? Is it a boy or girl?
It's a girl. The father refuses to see the child. The child will go by the grandparents' house because the grandmother will ask for her.
Yes.
But the mother will willingly let the child go. It's just he is refusing to have any contact with the child or anything, which she doesn't have a problem with.
Yeah.
It's just the assistance part in one specific field. So I'm not asking for a monthly income. I'm asking that when it comes to school, we can split it down the middle. And she can't even get that consultation with him.
Well, the thing is that,
Thanks a lot, caller.
unfortunately, my answer remains, if it's not voluntary, then it has to be ordered.
Or what about mediation? Would that help before it reaches the court, as you mentioned before?
Because the thing about mediation is it requires voluntary participation.
Yes,
So
willing,
if he's willing to go and have a conversation in the presence of a mediator, that's fine. That's wonderful. It's the preferred course. But if he's not, and if he really doesn't want anything to do with the child, then she's going to have to compel him.
Yeah.
Her only hope is if he has a fixed job, that whatever order she gets will be attached from his salary and put into an account, so she doesn't have to wrangle with that. But it's unfortunate. All of these scenarios are very sad.
Let's see if we could squeeze in one more and then another voice note. Good morning.
Hey, morning, guys.
Hi, how you doing?
I just asked a friend to tune in as I have to be hearing what you were talking about. Now, I don't want him to call in, so I'm going to ask for some advice on his behalf. It's a real friend.
Sure.
All right. You and ladies separate. So to spite you now, a father who and a child who tight. You're driving a wedge between. Now you have certain situations where you have to make police reports because your daughter is being affected seriously. Can't say everything is my boy, but you all could make sense from nonsense. So you have reports, you have this. Now you're going to align yourself with a notorious and pressuring this father now, and this one want to tell you, cut the father off from my daughter. It's not your child. You're just jumping a relationship, but because you're supposed to be one of them wannabe bad boys, you're pressuring a willing dad, and I'm talking about a man who's a real father here. You understand me?
Wow.
Fighting for your girl child. You want to spy the man, splitting these two people apart, all because you can't have the man, and have your stupid new wannabe bad boy driving our next wedge between man, and now the child under serious duress from, and I will go out on a limb here, from a young male in the house. What is my friend to do?
No, well, he has to go to court. And I need to say as well that there is now a body of legislation which governs children and their welfare and so on, which is presided over by the Children Authority. And if you really feel that this child is at risk, then you need to go and make a report to the Children Authority. If this child is in a house where there are males and she is at risk, this is very serious. It is not something to just talk about. It is something to act upon.
Yeah. Mr. Rowley said it. Mr. Rowley said it, and fight him all how. What you're bringing in your home around your kids. Simple, yeah.
Wow. All right, we have another quick one. I would like to know, what is the penalty if the court finds out with solid proof that a mother has been denying a child access to the father? They should have something in place. Some women use their kids as a weapon. We need laws in place to discontinue such issues. At no point should a child be used as a weapon.
Well, you know, the laws are in place. The thing about the legal system is it's as strong as the conscience of the citizens who are governed by it, and it is as strong as the manner in which it is enforced, and that goes across the board: criminal, civil, family. So that all what has to happen is an application has to be made complaining of
and I think people don't want to do the work. They think it's hard.
It is hard, and I have to say it is not an easy process.
Yeah.
And I say to my clients, sometimes you have to put some steel in your backbone. You had to cry if you had to cry for 3 days, and then you had to stop crying, and you have
Get
to
it done.
fight.
Get it done.
Final
caller we're going to accept. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Yeah, man.
Question. I have a court order from the court. You're going and paying your monthly dues every month in the court. You realize that when it is you ask the mother for evidence,
receipts
not receipts, of evidence of where's my money going with the child, right? So, for example, you're paying your money and you realize the child not getting what the child supposed to get.
Saying she hungry, she have clothes, she not this, she not
you're wearing 25, and it might sound funny, but you're wearing a $2,500 bundle in your hair, right? What can the father or mother who is being taken advantage of do?
Yes.
Is there any repercussions for that in the legal system? How do they get recourse?
Thanks a lot, caller.
Boy, I'm sorry, it might be sounding like a recurring decimal.
Yeah.
But really, if you have a complaint about the manner in which an order is being complied with, you can go back to court for a variation of the order. You can say, I want to pay certain expenses directly. So if it is that you're giving her money and you expect school books and uniforms and so on to be bought and they're not being bought, you buy them. You tell the court, I want an order that I will give me the booklet.
And how easy is that to get?
You can go to the court. But nothing is easy.
Well, all right, sorry, I shouldn't have used that word. But I mean,
but there is a system in place that allows you to ask the court for whatever relief you want.
They think whatever they give, you want to take it.
Nice,
not
man.
like that.
Diary, I like that. Because it makes sense. I give my money and Adi and them gain my money. How can a Brazilian and no. I like that one. Direct.
Something against
No, not really. No. I just feeling it from my brother.
I'm teasing.
Because I think a lot of the guys are under the misconception that, listen, the court made this order. I can't come now and ask, well, why did the money and spending? The child saying she hungry. She says she not the uniform.
And what I want to say is that the court sits as parents patria. In other words, the parents front of all of the children of this country. And any time, and children's orders are subject to review until they're no longer valid.
Right.
So anytime a child's order is made and there are changing circumstances, there's something that's you want to query, there's something that needs to be adjusted, you go back to court. Now it's wearisome, sometimes it's expensive depending on the forum that you choose, but a child's welfare at the end of the day is worth it. Her psychological well-being is worth it. His psychological well-being is worth it. So that's what I have to say.
We have been getting so many voice notes. I cannot even begin to touch on some of them.
Yeah.
I think we may have to do a part 2. I really feel so. Mrs. Nancoo, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Look,
Passing through with us.
Bailey, Elsa and Zendaya said to tell her good morning.
All right.
Yeah.
My in-laws and my niece.
Well,
Wow. All right. I mean, and this is something that, a lot of people don't have the information. Or as you said, the information is there too to find out,
Yeah.
People sometimes say you need to get up and query, ask questions. And I know often, they need a voice like you to be able to clarify and iron out some things and some misconceptions that people may have.
Yeah,
Voice
I'm
of reason.
I'm passionate about children. I think their welfare is critical.
yeah, real.
And they are the foundation of our nation. And if our
Definitely.
children are in trouble, then our nation is in trouble.
Yeah, we need a child father ambassador. Child father ambassador.
I'll be that.
Next up, I know we'll have to talk about issues with incest and different, I think that's a serious topic as well. We'll have to touch on another day.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Thank you once again for passing through.
My pleasure.
Being the voice of reason.
Miss
Hope a lot
Nancoo,
of
Miss Nancoo.
Mrs.
Right, that's telling you, don't tie it up on.